Everyone thought Dr. Sumi Park was too soft for space exploration. Her co-workers at the Interstellar Research Division talked about her when she wasn't there. They said she was smart but wasted her talents by being too kind. While other scientists, who studied alien life, would cut open specimens without a second thought, Sumi tried to understand them first. She spoke quietly to the creatures in her lab, watched how they lived before taking samples, and often refused to do tests that she thought would hurt them too much. "You'll never find anything important if you keep acting like that," Dr. Han Teho, the mission leader, told her during their meeting before the trip. "Headquarters sent you because of your good grades, but out here being soft is a problem." Sumi just nodded and looked at the screen showing where they were going. The dead world of Nix 7, a planet where all life had strangely disappeared hundreds of years ago. The mission was clear: collect samples, study what killed everything, and see if humans could live there someday. What the mission papers didn't say was that there was a huge structure buried under the ice at the north pole of the planet, a structure that showed up on their screens as they went into orbit. The structure gave off weak, uneven energy signals. "Someone built this," said engineer Kim Ji-ho, his eyes wide as he looked at the readings. "And it was here before everything died." Commander Han ordered a team to go down right away. Sumi had to go because of her knowledge, though Han made it clear she needed to follow all the rules. No being soft, no waiting. 6 people went down to the planet's surface in their exploration vehicle, crossing the empty land of Nix 7 until they reached the dig site. Drilling machines had already cleared a path to the entrance of the structure, a massive door covered with symbols no human had ever seen before. "Amazing," whispered Dr. Lee Do-yun, the team's language expert. "These patterns look like a language, based on math rather than sounds." Sumi felt something strange as she studied the symbols. Unlike her co-workers who were just curious, she sensed something more, a feeling of great sadness coming from the structure itself. When she put her gloved hand against the door, she thought she felt a vibration, like a heartbeat. "I think it's responding to us," she said. Commander Han laughed. "It's just reacting to the heat from our equipment, nothing more. Dr. Park, please remember why we're here: to collect information, not to talk to buildings." The team worked carefully to figure out how to open the door. When the huge door finally slid open, showing a dark hallway that seemed to go down forever, Sumi felt cold that had nothing to do with the planet's freezing air. "What do you think killed all life on this planet?" Engineer Kim asked as they got ready to go inside. Sumi looked back at the empty land behind them. "I think," she said quietly, "we're about to find out." The team walked slowly into the dark hallway. Their lights showed smooth walls with more strange symbols. The air inside was still and cold, but Sumi could feel that something about this place was different from any building humans had made. "These walls are made of a material I've never seen before," said Dr. Moon Jin-woo, the team's medical officer, running his scanner over the surface. "It's partly metal, partly something organic." "Stay focused," Commander Han reminded everyone. "We need to find the main control room or whatever is giving off those energy signals." As they walked deeper, Sumi noticed something the others didn't. The walls seemed to glow very faintly where she touched them. It was so subtle that she thought she might be imagining it at first. But then she saw the light follow her fingers as she moved them across the surface. "Look at this," she called to the others, but when they came over, the glow faded. "I don't see anything," said Commander Han with a sigh. "Dr. Park, please try to stick to facts, not feelings." But Sumi knew what she had seen. This place wasn't just a building. It was somehow alive, or at least partly alive, and it seemed to respond to her in a way it didn't to the others. As they went deeper, the hallway got wider. The temperature, which should have gotten colder as they moved away from the surface, actually got warmer. Their lights showed more and more complex systems built into the walls, things that looked like controls, screens, and devices no one in the team had ever seen before. "This technology is far beyond anything humans have built," Engineer Kim said with excitement in his voice. "If we could understand even a small part of it, we could make huge advances." Commander Han nodded. "That's why we're here. Take pictures of everything. We'll bring specialists to study it all later. Sumi walked a little apart from the others. While they were busy taking samples and measurements, she was trying to understand the feeling she had, like the building was watching them, evaluating them. Not in a threatening way, but more like it was curious. When they reached a fork in the path, Commander Han wanted to split up to cover more ground. No, Sumi said firmly, surprising everyone, including herself. We need to stay together. This place, it's not just a building, it's a system, and I think it's watching us. For once, Commander Han didn't argue. Something in Sumi's voice made him listen. Fine. We stay together and take the right path. But Sumi pointed to the left passage. We need to go this way. Why? Asked Dr. Lee. Sumi couldn't explain. She just knew. There's something important down there. Something waiting. Against his better judgment, Commander Han agreed to follow Sumi's suggestion. The left passage sloped downward more steeply, and, after another 30 minutes of walking, they felt a vibration through the floor. What is that? Dr. Moon asked nervously. Machinery, said Engineer Kim. Something big is running up ahead. The passage opened suddenly into a vast chamber that took their breath away, and in the center of that chamber was something none of them had expected to find on a dead world. Is that alive? Whispered Dr. Lee. Sumi stepped forward, drawn, to the massive form that lay in the center of the chamber. She knew then why she had been sent on this mission. Not despite her softness, but because of it. Yes, she said. It's alive. And I think it's been waiting for us for a very long time. The team walked down into the strange building for 3 hours. Each level they passed had more and more amazing technology. Lights turned on when they came near. Strange screens showed symbols they couldn't read. The air got warmer, even though they were going deeper underground. This place has power, but I don't know what kind, said Kim, looking at his tools again and again. It's not like anything we know about. Han kept everyone focused. Write down everything you see. Take samples if you can. Don't touch anything unless you have to. Sumi walked behind the others. She noticed things they missed. Some wall panels glowed brighter when she walked by. The air seemed to move around them like the building knew they were there. This wasn't just an empty place. It was watching them. The hallway opened up into a huge room. The ceiling was so high they could barely see it, covered with what looked like a map of stars. But in the middle of the room was something that made everyone stop and stare. A giant thing lay there, not moving. It was part machine, part living creature. No one had ever seen anything like it before. It wasn't exactly a ship, and it wasn't exactly an animal. Its skin had moving, colorful patterns that looked like brain connections. It was bigger than their exploration vehicle. Is it alive? Asked Moon, the doctor, speaking very quietly. We can't tell without looking closer, said Han, but Sumi heard fear in his voice. We need to take samples. While the team set up their equipment, Sumi walked toward the giant thing. She felt pulled to it. Everyone else looked scared, but Sumi felt curious and somehow like she knew this thing already. Dr. Park, stay back, Han ordered. But Sumi had already reached out her hand, almost touching the giant's surface. It's not dead, she said. It's just sleeping. When her gloved fingers touched it, bright light filled the room. The giant shook, and a deep sound made the floor vibrate so hard that most of the team fell down. What did you do? Han shouted, but his voice was lost in the loud noise that seemed to come from everywhere. The sound went through their suits and they could feel it in their bones. Sumi stayed standing, her hand still touching the giant. Suddenly her mind was filled with pictures. Strange beings that didn't look like anything human. A terrible war. These beings hiding their greatest creation deep underground, and then all other life on the planet dying out. It didn't kill everything, Sumi said as she understood what she was seeing. They were protecting it from something else. This is the last living thing from this planet. Han grabbed her arm and pulled her away. We're leaving now. This is not what we came here to find. But Sumi couldn't stop looking at the giant. It was changing now. Parts that were dark before had lights turning on. The patterns on its skin moved faster. "It's waking up," she whispered. "After sleeping for so long, it's coming back to life." The team started running back to the hallway, but Sumi made a choice that would change everything. She turned around and walked back toward the giant. "Dr. Park," Han's voice echoed in the big room. "That's an order. Come back." Sumi took off her helmet. She breathed in the air of the room. "I'm sorry," she called back. "But I need to know what this is." She put her bare hand on the giant again. This time the connection was much stronger. She fell to her knees as thousands of years of knowledge poured into her mind all at once. Just before she passed out, she heard Han talking on his radio to the ship in orbit. He was telling them to get ready to leave in a hurry and to tell headquarters they had found something called the World Eater. But as Sumi's mind filled with ancient memories, she knew that name was wrong. The giant wasn't made to eat worlds. It had a different purpose, one that humans might not understand. And she was now the only person who could learn its secrets. The team kept shouting for her, their voices getting more distant as they ran back up the hallway. They were leaving her behind with the giant, but Sumi wasn't afraid. For the first time in her life, she felt like she was exactly where she needed to be. The giant's patterns moved across its surface, reaching out toward where she lay on the floor. In her mind, Sumi could feel it searching through her memories, learning about humans just as she was learning about it. It was curious, not threatening. As darkness closed in around her vision, Sumi had one clear thought. The people who built this giant hadn't been trying to destroy. They had been trying to create something wonderful, something that could change everything, and now it was waking up. The last thing she saw before losing consciousness was a soft blue light moving from the giant's surface toward her. It hovered over her like a gentle hand, reaching out to someone it recognized. Not as an enemy, but as a friend. The giant wasn't a monster. It was a miracle. And Sumi had just become the first human to truly understand what that meant. The blue light touched her forehead, and then there was only darkness and dreams of stars being born. Sumi woke up in darkness. She could hear the gentle sound of the giant. No, she corrected herself. The Guardian. That was its real name and purpose. It wasn't made to destroy, but to protect. The knowledge it shared was still in her mind, like remembering parts of a dream. She didn't know how long she had been asleep, but her suit showed she had been out for at least 12 hours. The room had changed. The Guardian was partly awake now, its systems checking themselves after sleeping. For thousands of years, Sumi knew her team must have left without her. The rules were clear. If someone touches unknown alien life, they must be left behind to protect others from danger. The team would be in their ship above the planet, talking about whether to send a robot to get her body or just say she died, doing her job. "They don't understand what you are," she said out loud, her voice bouncing off the walls. "They already call you World Eater because they're scared." The Guardian answered with flashes of light that Sumi somehow understood. It was asking about humans and Earth. "I'm human," she told it, walking to a control panel that had come up from the floor. "We come from a planet called Earth, very far from here." The panel lit up when she touched it. It showed 3D pictures of planets Sumi didn't know. The Guardian was showing her its story, how it was made as a last hope by the people of this planet when their sun started to die. It was built to take energy from dying stars and make new places where life could grow. Not a world eater, Sumi realized. A world maker. But something had gone wrong. Enemy aliens who feared the Guardian's power had attacked this planet. The creators had to hide their greatest invention deep underground and sacrifice themselves in a last battle that made the planet unable to support life for a time. The Guardian was programmed to wake up only when it found life forms that could guide it. It had chosen Sumi. "Why me?" she asked. The answer came not in words but in feelings and ideas. The Guardian had felt her kindness, her wish to understand rather than use. In that first touch, it had seen in her the same good qualities as its creators. Suddenly, Sumi's radio crackled with a voice. "Dr. Park, if you can hear this, answer now." Commander Han sounded tense. "Headquarters has ordered an attack on your position. They think that thing is dangerous to all human worlds. Sumi grabbed her helmet. Commander, you can't. This isn't a weapon. It's a terraforming system. It doesn't destroy planets, it saves them. Headquarters made their choice based on our first reports. The attack is set for 0600 hours. That gives you 3 hours to get out if you're still alive. Sumi looked at the Guardian, which now knew about the threat. Its systems were speeding up, but 3 hours wouldn't be enough. After such a long sleep, it needed more time to fully wake up. I won't leave, she told Commander Han. And if you blow up this room, you'll start a planet defense system that will attack any ship above. Us, the creators, built it that way. This wasn't completely true. Sumi had seen something about defenses in the Guardian's memories, but she wasn't sure how they worked. Still, she needed time. The radio was quiet for a long time. Then, the attack has been delayed for more study. A research team is coming from Earth. They will arrive in 2 weeks. Sumi closed her eyes, feeling relief. 2 weeks. She had 2 weeks to wake up the Guardian and show humans its value. What they don't understand, she said to the Guardian, as she put her hand on it again, is that you're not the monster they fear, and I'm going to help you show them. The Guardian responded right away. A wave of energy lifted Sumi off her feet and wrapped her in light. When it faded, she found herself changed. Tiny connections had formed between her nerves and the Guardian's mind, creating a permanent link between them. She was no longer just the one who woke it up. She was its guide, its voice, its mother. Over the next few days, Sumi learned more about the Guardian's powers. It could fix broken planets, clean poisoned air, and even make new plants and animals to fit different worlds. Through her, it learned about humans, their hopes, their fears, their need for new worlds as Earth got more crowded. Together, they started to fix the dead planet around them. The Guardian sent tiny machines into the soil and air. Green plants began to grow in places that had been empty for centuries. Water formed from chemicals in the ground. It was slow, but it was working. Sumi's body changed too. The connections with the Guardian left faint lines under her skin that glowed with soft light. She could now breathe the thin air outside without her suit. She could understand the Guardian's thoughts without words. The humans would be afraid when they saw her, but she wasn't afraid anymore. What they would see as alien, she now understood as a gift. One night, as she looked at the stars through a window the Guardian had cleared, Sumi felt a presence behind her. She turned to see a hologram, a being like nothing she'd seen before, with smooth skin that changed colors and many limbs that moved like water. It was the image of one of the Guardian's creators. They built you to save life, Sumi said to the Guardian, not just on this world but across the stars. The hologram nodded, its colors shifting to show agreement. And now humans want to destroy you because they're afraid. The colors darkened, showing sadness rather than anger. I won't let them, Sumi promised. When they come, I'll show them what you can do, how you can help us find new homes among the stars. The research team was coming to judge whether the Guardian should live or die. Sumi knew they would see her changes as proof she had been taken over, corrupted by alien influence. They wouldn't understand that she was more herself than ever before, not controlled, but connected. The Guardian's thoughts touched her mind. It showed her images of Earth, crowded cities, polluted seas, dying forests. It asked a question without words. Can they be helped? Yes, Sumi answered. But first, they have to learn to trust, to understand that not everything strange is dangerous. As the days passed, Sumi and the Guardian prepared for the humans' arrival. They created a small garden near the entrance to the underground chamber, a living proof of what they could do together. Green plants, clear water, even small insects transported from another chamber where the creators had stored the building blocks of life. It wasn't much, just a few hundred square meters of life on a dead world. But it was enough to show what was possible. On the night before the research team was due to arrive, Sumi stood in their garden under the stars. The glowing patterns under her skin matched the light of the distant suns above. She was changed, and soon the future of humanity would change too. They had called her soft, too kind, too gentle for the harsh realities of space. But softness had been exactly what was needed. Not to break the Guardian, but to wake it. Not to control it, but to understand it. And when the humans came with their weapons and their fear, she would show them that the greatest power in the universe wasn't destruction. It was creation. The 2 weeks passed in what seemed like moments to Sumi. Through her neural connection with the Guardian, she experienced millennia of knowledge, the rise and fall of civilizations across the galaxy, the art of planetary engineering, the delicate balance required to nurture life in hostile environments. In return, she shared humanity's history, their struggles and triumphs, their desperate need for sustainable worlds as Earth's resources dwindled and its population swelled. When the division's research vessel arrived in orbit around Nix 7, Sumi was ready. The Guardian had partially repaired its systems and had even begun preliminary work on restoring the planet's atmosphere, proof of its benevolent purpose. A delegation led by Director Choi Junho descended to the chamber. Sumi could see the shock on their faces when they found her not only alive but transformed. The neural interfaces had left visible patterns beneath her skin, faint lines of light that pulsed with the Guardian's rhythms. "Dr. Park," Director Choi said, maintaining a safe distance. "You were ordered to evacuate." "I was fulfilling my mission," Sumi replied calmly. "To study and understand the extinction event on Nix 7. I've done that and discovered something far more valuable than we could have imagined." The delegation included scientific experts from various disciplines, all armed with scanning equipment and, Sumi noted, weapons. Among them was Dr. Kang Min-soo, her former mentor and the one person who might actually listen. "The entity has altered you," Dr. Kang said, stepping forward despite the director's warning gesture. "Are you still yourself?" Sumi smiled. "I'm more myself than I've ever been. The Guardian hasn't changed who I am. It's simply given me the knowledge to understand what it is." "The Guardian?" Director Choi repeated skeptically. "That's its purpose," Sumi explained. "It was created to preserve and restore life, not destroy it. The extinction on Nix 7 was caused by an attack from a rival civilization, not by this entity." She placed her hand on a nearby console, and holographic images filled the chamber. Detailed schematics of the Guardian's terraforming capabilities. Simulations of dying worlds restored to habitability. Star systems stabilized. "It can save worlds that we've deemed uninhabitable," she said, "including several in Earth's vicinity that we've already abandoned as colonization prospects." Director Choi remained unmoved. "The division's primary concern is security, Dr. Park. This technology, if weaponized, could destroy entire planetary ecosystems. We cannot allow it to leave this planet." "It can't be weaponized," Sumi insisted. "Its core programming prevents it from causing harm to living worlds." "And we're supposed to take your word for this?" The director gestured to the neural patterns, visible on Sumi's skin. "You're clearly compromised," Dr. Kang intervened. "With respect, Director, we should at least verify Dr. Park's claims before making any decisions. The potential benefits are too significant to dismiss without proper investigation." A tense negotiation followed. The division would allow a controlled demonstration of the Guardian's capabilities on a small, uninhabited moon in the Nix system. If successful, further testing would be permitted. If not, the Guardian would be neutralized immediately. Sumi agreed to their terms, knowing that once they witnessed the Guardian's true purpose, even the division couldn't deny its value. As the delegation prepared to return to their ship, Dr. Kang lingered behind. "They still call you soft," he told Sumi quietly. "But there's something else now too. Fear. They're afraid of what you've become." Sumi nodded. "They should be. Not because I'm a threat, but because I represent a change they can't control. The Guardian isn't just a tool, Dr. Kang, it's a partner. And humanity needs to learn that not everything in the universe is waiting to be conquered." "And if the demonstration fails?" he asked. Sumi's expression hardened for the first time. "It won't. But if they try to destroy the Guardian, they'll learn that being soft doesn't mean being weak." The transformation of the barren moon took less than 72 hours. The Guardian, guided by Sumi's understanding of human needs, created a breathable atmosphere, stable water cycle, and fertile soil capable of supporting Earth vegetation. What would have taken human terraforming technology centuries was accomplished. In days, even Director Choi couldn't deny the implications. The Guardian could transform the future of human expansion, making previously uninhabitable worlds viable for colonization without the ecological destruction that had characterized humanity's early interstellar efforts. But the division's approval came with conditions. The Guardian would remain under their control, its technology studied and replicated if possible. Sumi would be required to sever her neural connection once division scientists understood how to operate the systems. That's not possible, Sumi explained. The connection is permanent, and the Guardian won't function without a guide, someone who understands both its capabilities and the ethical implications of its use. Then you'll both remain division assets, Director Choi stated, under our jurisdiction and oversight. Sumi smiled, the neural patterns beneath her skin pulsing more rapidly. I'm afraid that won't be possible either. The Guardian's presence suddenly filled the command center of the division's vessel, its consciousness extending through the ship's systems via Sumi's neural link. The Guardian has made its choice, Sumi said, as the holographic displays around them showed hundreds of dying worlds across the galaxy, and so have I. We're not weapons to be controlled or assets to be exploited. We're going to save these worlds with or without the division's blessing. For the first time, Director Choi looked uncertain. That sounds like a threat, Dr. Park. Not a threat, Sumi corrected him. A promise, from a mother to her children. 5 years passed. The division's attempts to contain Sumi and the Guardian had failed spectacularly. They had departed the Nyx system in the Guardian itself, which had transformed from its dormant state into a vessel unlike anything humanity had ever created, part ship, part living entity, capable of traversing vast distances through methods that defied conventional physics. Sumi became known across human colonies by many names: the Soft Doctor, the World Mother, the Guardian's voice. To some, she was a renegade who had betrayed humanity by bonding with alien technology. To others, she was a savior, bringing life to worlds that had been abandoned as hopeless. On New Terra, once a toxic mining planet deemed beyond recovery after corporations had stripped it of resources, children now played in meadows beneath an azure sky. The Guardian had healed the planet in months, restoring ecosystems that human scientists had declared permanently destroyed. Sumi walked among the settlers, her appearance both human and other. The neural patterns had spread across her body, luminous lines that shifted with her thoughts and the Guardian's constant presence in her mind. She no longer needed a ship or environmental suit to survive in hostile conditions. The Guardian's technology sustained her, adapting her biology to each environment. "Will you stay this time?" asked Yoon Hye-jin, the colony's leader, as they watched families gathering for the harvest festival. Sumi shook her head. There are too many worlds that need help. The Guardian can sense them. Planets dying from natural causes, from human exploitation, from wars fought centuries ago. The division still hunts for you, Hye-jin warned. They've declared the Guardian technology too dangerous for any single entity to control. Sumi smiled. They still don't understand. I don't control the Guardian. We're partners. Two species working together for something greater than either could achieve alone. Their conversation was interrupted by a child who ran up to Sumi, offering her a hand-drawn picture. It showed a figure surrounded by light with planets circling around her. "Is this me?" Sumi asked, kneeling to the child's level. The boy nodded earnestly. "My grandmother was on Proxima B when you came. She said you made the poison air go away and the plants grow again. She said you're the mother of worlds." Sumi thanked him for the drawing and watched as he ran back to his friends. The neural patterns beneath her skin pulsed with emotion that was partly hers, partly the Guardian's, a shared pride in what they had accomplished together. A sudden alert from the Guardian reached her consciousness. A division fleet had entered the system, larger than any previous pursuit force. "They're persistent," Sumi remarked to Hye-jin. "I need to leave before they reach the planet. This colony shouldn't suffer for sheltering me." Hye-jin grasped her arm. "Wait. Something's different this time." They're broadcasting on all frequencies requesting parley. Not with the colony, with you specifically. Sumi reached out through her connection to the Guardian, scanning the approaching fleet. The lead ship carried a familiar energy signature. Dr. Kang Minsu, her old mentor. When the division shuttle landed at the colony's central plaza hours later, Sumi was waiting alone. The Guardian remained in orbit, ready to extract her at the first sign of betrayal. Dr. Kang had aged in the 5 years since their last meeting. He walked with a slight limp now, but his eyes were as sharp as ever as he approached Sumi. "You look well for a fugitive," he said with a hint of his old humor. "And you look well for someone who spent 5 years chasing ghosts," she replied. "What does the division want, Dr. Kang? Another attempt to contain us?" He sighed. "The division has spent 5 years trying to replicate what you and the Guardian can do naturally. They've failed. Meanwhile, the colonies you've restored have become the most prosperous in human space. Even the most stubborn bureaucrats can't ignore the results. They're offering a truce. More than that, recognition, legitimacy, the freedom to continue your work without interference in exchange for sharing your knowledge, not the technology itself, but your understanding of how to work with it rather than try to control it." Sumi studied him, sensing no deception. "What changed their minds?" "Earth did," Dr. Kang said simply. "Our homeworld is dying, Sumi. Climate collapse, resource depletion. All the problems we thought we'd solved have returned tenfold. The division has exhausted every other option. They need the World Mother now." Sumi closed her eyes, communicating silently with the Guardian. Its response was immediate and clear. Earth was indeed in crisis, its biosystems failing at an accelerating rate. Without intervention, the planet that had given birth to humanity would become uninhabitable within a generation. "Tell them I'll come," Sumi said finally. "Not as their asset or their savior, but as a partner. If they truly want to learn, I'll teach them. If they only want to use us, they'll fail again." Dr. Kang nodded. "I'll convey your terms. For what it's worth, I always knew you were right. Being soft, being empathetic, being willing to connect rather than dominate. That wasn't weakness. It was exactly what humanity needed." 3 months later, Sumi stood on a beach in what had once been a thriving coastal city, now half submerged by rising oceans. Representatives from every major Earth government watched as she communed with the Guardian, which hovered above the water like a second sun. "It will take time," she told them. "Earth's damage runs deep. The Guardian can heal it, but not quickly, not easily. And humanity must change too. The way you live, the way you consume, the way you think about your relationship with your world. All of it must evolve." Some protested, demanding immediate solutions without sacrifices. Others understood the opportunity being offered. Not just a repaired world, but a new way of existing within it. In the end, it was not the politicians or scientists who convinced the doubters, but the children. They flocked to Sumi wherever she went, instinctively understanding what the adults struggled to accept. That the neural patterns marking her skin were not signs of alien contamination, but of true symbiosis. They called her mother, not out of fear or reverence, but with the simple recognition that she nurtured life wherever she went. And gradually, as Earth began to heal under the Guardian's careful ministrations, even those who had once feared the World Eater came to understand what Sumi had known from the beginning. The universe was not a resource to be exploited or an enemy to be conquered. It was a garden to be tended, a community to be joined, a family to be embraced. On the anniversary of the Guardian's awakening, Sumi stood atop a restored mountain peak, watching the sun set over a world slowly coming back to life. The neural connection thrummed with shared satisfaction, not just from the Guardian, but from the dozens of similar entities they had discovered and awakened across the galaxy, each now bonded with a human guide who had been selected for the same quality that had first drawn the Guardian to Sumi's softness: empathy. The willingness to listen before acting, to understand before judging, to nurture rather than command. "They used to call me soft," Sumi murmured to the Guardian and to the galaxy beyond. Now they call me Mother. And finally, they understand that those were always the same thing.